And today what we are trying to do is actually to introduce to you as well as have a discussion with you on what are the things that we have learned from our own experiences through meeting some of you, through understanding what has happened in the last few months, but taking it a little further to show what we actually see and how actually to go ahead and write a good essay. So procedurally, we'll go in the following manner. I will just give you a very brief introduction on why we're actually doing this, basing it really on what has happened in the last few months. This will be followed by Peter, who will give a more structured discussion on how we use the Turnitin software to identify the different kinds of problems, let me put it like that. We will have a break, and then we will follow it by Howard, who will give you some ideas on how to actually write an essay without immediately resorting to the Google and to copying paste. In other words, how can you develop your own argument and your own essay in a way that lets you avoid some of these problems that we are talking about. Why is the Board of Examiners involved in this? And that is because we have full responsibility actually for the whole examination procedures, which includes, amongst other things, also issues of sloppy referencing and plagiarism. What do? What we do is, when the scripts are given out to the course leaders, we ask them to actually correct the scripts through the software which is existent, which we use, the Turnitin software. Now, the Turnitin software shows some things, and if there's a problem, it is alerted to us by the course leaders. They do not apply the penalties themselves. All they do is tell us, hey, there's a problem, please check it further. They can make suggestions on what they feel it is bad, worse, but ultimately it's given to the board. What does the board do? It looks into it and sees whether it's a relevant issue, is it a serious problem. It then invites people, where necessary, to come and meet with the board. We send a letter to the individual student indicating what has been the result, including whether there have been penalties, what needs to be done. The resubmissions, if and when they come in, are rechecked by the board, and then, of course, sent back to the course leaders and the normal with the penalties applied. In other words, what we try and do is to ensure to keep a record of how the different students have gone across the board, and we apply the penalties in order to ensure that there's a level playing field. That is, one course leader is not allowed to make an extra penalty as opposed to another course leader. We ensure that it's the same. Minimally 2 of us sit in each of these meetings. So that is assured. So we take this job very seriously, and we are very careful to see that as far as possible, justice is and fairness is applied, including whether there have been penalties, what needs to be done. The resubmissions, if and when they come in, are rechecked by the board, and then, of course, sent back to the course leaders and the normal with the penalties applied. In other words, what we try and do is to ensure to keep a record of how the different students have gone across the board, and we apply the penalties in order to ensure that there's a level playing field. That is, one course leader is not allowed to make an extra penalty as opposed to another course leader. We ensure that it's the same. Minimally 2 of us sit in each of these meetings. So that is assured. So we take this job very seriously, and we are very careful to see that as far as possible, justice is and fairness is applied. Normally, and you can read the plagiarism issues on your rules and regulations, the first offense is usually considered a kind of a warning, but from the second time onwards, it's taken more seriously. Now, why suddenly this? Because, in fact, all of you have done your courses on academic skills, you've all done your referencing, and you've all done your quiz. Unfortunately, for reasons that we're not quite completely sure about, instead of our normal average of 4 to 6, maybe 10 kind of deep discussions with students, which takes over a full calendar here, we've had an enormous increase. And that has made us certainly worried, particularly, well, for our own self-preservation, because it means so many meetings, it means so many resets, it means so many hours of work. But more importantly, it is a real concern that these are happening in spite of all the efforts made by the academic skills staff, as well as writing, as well as the quiz. What has actually happened? Most often the issue is, oh, we did not know. This was really wrong. And as you can see from here, I'm sure you can see how familiar you are with it. I'll repeat it for those because of the recording. It's the first time we're actually putting this into practice. Yes, we always ask them, did you not do the quiz? Yes, we've done the quiz. Have you passed the quiz? Yes, we've passed the quiz. So why are you doing this? Well, it's the first time we're actually putting it into practice. We forgot it, and so forth. The time pressure. There are too many exams, too many scripts we have to hand in a short period of time. It was just, that is often put. There is a certain kind of a pressure that, in other words, we want to do well. We have to do a prestigious job, and maybe we feel that that is a way of doing it. The author expressed exactly what I wanted to say. So actually my ideas are the same as that of the author, in effect. And then after all, the author is good at English, maybe English is not my first language, so why not use it? Actually, it's my own idea. Except that there's somebody else has expressed it in nice ways, and in a way that I could ever do it. Group work. We worked as a group. Now that's quite interesting. We worked as a group, but somehow, as you will see, the system picks up when individuals of the group present identical work. We all encourage group work. It's one of the pedagogical things that are being supported in this institute. But that is not the same as writing identical essays. But of course, it's very natural. I thought it first, somebody else thought it first. I was the original author, somebody else wasn't the original author, but the original author did not submit it first. So the first person has got out of the system, and so forth. I didn't mean to cheat. I think in many cases it's a genuine enough offer, excuse, but not really very valid. I was unwell and my friend helped. Solidarity, very good, something to be appreciated, but if it comes out and it's caught by the system, it's not acceptable. Be very careful about that. The friend who helps you is also as guilty. So do not do that, and recall that both are fraud involved in it. So the board is not really interested, apart from its own self-interest of spending time and effort and energy on this. What is important is that we're trying to help you. We're really trying to make sure that you are supported in your future work, in your understanding, not simply within the institute, but also when you go beyond the institute. But more pertinently, within the next 2 terms. And it is in a way part of what the ISS holds as promoting academic integrity. To end this very brief introduction, which is largely based, as I said, on our own perceptions and worries, and our sincere attempt to try and guide you in the future on how to do your essays in a way in which lives up to the standards of academic integrity. At this stage, this is just an introduction, re-emphasizing the problems that we've had in the last term and how we never ever want to see that kind of work again, the efforts again, but most importantly that you yourself learn how to move forward in a positive manner and living up to the standards of academic integrity, which are so important at this time, especially with the internet being so accessible.